This is day 2 of CPAC Mexico. I can't even tell you, the energy is so great in the room. And we've had incredible speakers all these past 2 days. So we also have a very special guest, someone who came straight from the USA. Matt?
Yeah, well, I first want you to see the merch, the great merch here. When a group is being run by a former actor, I guess current actor, Eduardo Verástegui, you have to have the merch. So if you want one of these great hats, which are going like hotcakes here, I think they're $5.
Okay,
pretty
that
cheap.
sounds
That's
great.
pretty
Yeah.
good. Anyway, you're going to have to
one.
get your CPAC Mexico hat. We are here with one of the absolute stalwarts in the United States House of Representatives. Won again, has a 95% rating in our CPAC scorecard, a proud member of the Freedom Caucus, and someone that's going to be an important voice in this really rather slender Republican majority we have in the House. Mark Green, thank you for being with us. And by the way, this is not your first international CPAC.
No, it is not. I got to join you guys in Brazil, which was amazing. To be on stage with President Bolsonaro, that was just a treat. And thanks for having me back.
And when he's there, millions of people follow.
Millions of people. And I spent the day with Eduardo, and everywhere we went,
Yes.
just crowds.
Yes,
it was
love it.
Okay, so here's the thing. We love Donald Trump, and he's done a video for us here, which he always is willing to lend a hand to help the CPAC cause. Don't tell Donald Trump that Jair Bolsonaro has rallies of millions of people. I mean,
yeah, they were huge, incredible.
So, Congressman, tell me, we went through this election. There was all this talk about the red wave. We were looking at polls. All of a sudden, we realized, wait a second, it sounds like a red trickle. Other than states like maybe Florida and Texas where they really overperformed with Republicans. Looking back, what do you think Republicans could have done better to win more of these seats?
Well, obviously, one of the things we have to take on is the big social media giants that are out there sort of Jedi mind tricking people. They get to basically curtail the message and make it whatever they want. And they're controlling the message, particularly to young voters. And I think that's something that we've got to consider and take on, find an alternative to it, something. But that's one thing. Of course, trickling in elections, these votes as they come in is creating a lack of confidence for everyone, whether there's fraud or not. It just creates a huge question mark for people. So I think those are things we've got to do a better job of. Some states fixed things, some states didn't. So lots of stuff, lots of contributing factors. And I will tell you too, I believe that we got a lot of juice out of the squeeze in 2020. We were supposed to lose 15 seats. We actually gained 15 seats for a net flip of 30. So maybe we got a lot of it in that cycle, and there wasn't much to get out of this cycle. I don't know. We got to do a better job, too, picking candidates, things like that.
Let's get right on top of this voting thing. The looser we make the laws, voter ID, maybe. Checking whether or not they're on the voter rolls, maybe we'll check. Maybe we won't. Other people can vote for other people. Other people can vote for hundreds of other people. The way the left is moving through these states in America and changing and loosening these restrictions, common sense restrictions, and you're seeing it in other countries like Brazil slightly differently, but people in these democracies are wondering, how come they just can't get like a clean audit and an understanding of who voted and then who shouldn't have voted? And one final piece of this, I kept saying to my friends in Arizona as the count was coming in over days and days and days, it's almost like Sesame Street was doing the 1, 2, 3. I said to them, look at the number of ballots that they kicked out because they said they were ineligible. What you'll find in all of these slow counts is they count every ballot, and that's mathematically impossible.
Yeah, look at Florida. I mean, 20-plus million people in that state, third largest state in the country, and they were able to count all of their, mail-in ballots, their absentee ballots, get everything done on Election Day.
Right.
And I'm opposed to the federal government telling states how to run. I mean, the Constitution's pretty clear on that. But what we could do is say, well, you have to have it turned in. We're not going to tell you how to do it, but you got to have it done by this date. And I think that is something we should consider.
I think that's so fair.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
And the federal government should be able to do that.
And I think one of the things Florida did is that once they receive mail-in ballots, they start counting them immediately. Which Arizona waits till after the polls are closed on Election Day, again, creating chaos. We saw some of these issues with these voting machines, people standing in line. And you're right, it does bring up a lot of questions where people are saying, wait, can I trust the system itself?
Exactly.
Maricopa County, they messed it up 2020 in the sense that it was a disaster how it was run. And this time around, it was a disaster again. How can we get better at making sure that they can fix these problems, or we bring awareness to these problems?
Well, again, I think the federal government should have very little say on it, right?
Yeah.
But the states have got to realize, particularly Arizona, states like that they're creating a lack of confidence in their people.
Right.
And that's the worst place for us to be. Everyone should be completely confident that their vote counts.
Yes.
And right now, that's not the case.
Yeah, now we have this small majority in the House of Representatives. We have Kevin McCarthy as the Speaker. The rest of the leadership team has been filled out. Now you have this question of who holds the gavels. One of the Freedom Caucus, which you're a member of, would like to have some reforms on who gets the gavels. But in the meantime, the steering committee selects, right? And you're in line for one of these gavels.
Yeah, I'm actually competing with two other candidates to be the chairman of Homeland Security. I just got to thinking about it. What's the number one national security threat to America? Well, it's our southern border, right? And our number two threat is our cyber border. And so national security, I'm a national security guy, 24 years in the Army. That's where I want to be. So I'm competing. The steering committee will make the decision. And Freedom Caucus is just asking for a seat at that table.
Yeah.
You know, they want a seat at that table. They're almost 20% of the caucus.
No, any Freedom Caucus members on the steering
Debbie
committee?
Lesko actually is on the committee, and she was a select by Kevin McCarthy. He actually selected her to be his designee.
So it's interesting. Sorry, sweetheart. Just one more follow-up.
Okay.
On this whole question with this slender majority, a lot of our friends in the Freedom Caucus who come on this show and go to CPAC, we're hoping for maybe a little bigger majority, but a small majority, so that the Freedom Caucus could be that kind of like weather vane on what happens. Do you think it's also true that Speaker McCarthy, soon-to-be Speaker McCarthy, should let the Freedom Caucus have roles in all these things like the steering committee and let you have more gavels, and there'll be more harmony if he does that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kevin has worked very closely with, let me put it this way, he's done better than any speaker has or majority leader ever with coordinating with the Freedom Caucus.
They always just decided you were an enemy and they weren't going to do anything you wanted.
Exactly. And Kevin hasn't taken that perspective.
Good.
He's come over to our meetings, spoken to us about issues. He meets with Scott Perry, our chairman. But, I mean, we have only one chairman right now, and hopefully there'll be a second in Homeland Security.
Well, I got to ask you, talking about Homeland Security, we've seen the debacle that's happening at the border. We yesterday met with human trafficking victims, these young girls ages 9 to 17. I can't even tell you how heartbreaking it is. We're going to go today to visit the boys' shelter. And it's just tragic.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
It's tragic. And so I ask you, what can we do, even as a nation, to really hone in on going after these human traffickers, going after the drug cartels? I mean, we're here in CPAC, Mexico. I mean, that's obviously such a big issue that's even driving here in Mexico as well.
Sure. Well, we can empower the task forces that are actually going after the drug cartels a little more. There's lots we can do. If you look at Jayada South, which works out of Key West, actually, they need more resources. And that is a joint task force with Homeland Security, DOJ, state, and DOD. But there are tons of things. We can negotiate deals with Guatemala and Panama to serve as blocks. And I don't want to go too much into that to empower my competition for this Homeland Security job, but I've got some ideas on how we can do that to stop the flow through Central America. And, you mentioned the human trafficking, 32%. And this is from Doctors Without Borders, not a conservative organization. 32% of the young girls who make this trek are sexually assaulted. Yeah. It's insane that the incentives that Joe Biden has created with his open border would be allowed.
And the thing about the open borders, we're all told that that's because we should be tolerant towards people who have rough existences south of our border, that we should give amnesty to people because they're more accepting of people who are racially diverse than we are. And when you really pull back the covers on all this, they're lying to us. The open border is creating power for the cartels to destroy the lives of more people, to bring more drugs into America, to pollute to kill our kids and our grandkids. And we need to wake up, and we need to not be kind of cowed by their language of, oh, you're just intolerant. That open southern border is a destructive force on young lives.
Well, let's take that whole, we're going to shame you because you're not willing to give your charity here. Honestly, I don't think it's the federal government's job to tell me where I should put my charity anyway.
I agree.
Right? If I want to take my dollars and give them to Gold Star families, that should be my right.
Yep.
So they're trying to force me to choose where I put my charity, right? So I disagree with that whole premise from the beginning. But honestly, they're doing way more. 108,000 Americans died of fentanyl overdose last year. I mean, Al-Qaeda killed 3,000 on 9/11, and we spent 20 years taking those guys to task. 108,000 died last year from fentanyl made in China.
I thought our biggest problem was climate change and white nationalism. I get so confused.
Well, we know what it is. They don't.
Right. You brought up China, and obviously they're part of the fentanyl issue that we're seeing, the fentanyl crisis that we're seeing coming into America. Also, they're part of the cyber issues as well. Walk us through, what can America do better at, pushing back on China. And obviously, we saw President Biden meet with President Xi. I don't think very much came out of that. I don't think any discussions were made about that either.
It was the first cup of tea, I think, on that one. But, there's a ton of things we can do. The cyber front, there are ideas, but, I'm going to present at my talk here today my nearshoring bill, which would decouple manufacturing from China, bring it to Latin America, create opportunity in Latin America, and decrease pressure on our southern border.
Yeah.
So this is a win, and I don't use taxpayer dollars to do it. So there are solutions out there that accomplish a lot of different things.
Look, and we've tried this. We have MCA. We have, we had the CAFTA trade agreement. There is no reason why this hemisphere shouldn't be richer because we do 100%. Business together and take it away from China. There's no reason.
Well, they're going after our allies in the region with the Belt and Road Initiative, right? Yes. They're trying to buy those allies from us. So we need to do what we can to shorten our supply chain and make friends down here. And we haven't done a great job of that in the past.
No. One other topic here, we saw the Department of Justice basically appoint Merrick Garland, appoint our Attorney General, appoint a special counsel on President Trump, for crying out loud. I mean, this is an outrage. The most politicized DOJ taking this action, going after their political opponents. This is what happened in places like Latin America, not in America.
I think they should just have a continual special counsel against anybody who runs against a Democrat for president, right?
True. I mean, seriously.
I can't believe I agree with Bill Maher again on this. Garrett Garland is just a chicken.
It's okay. We all know. He's not even worth mentioning.
Well, he's just chicken. I mean, why didn't he do? If he's so, if he thinks there's an issue, take it on yourself. Yeah. He's just passing this off because he knows Jim Jordan's coming. Look, Latin America, get your popcorn and watch Jim Jordan. It's going to be great for the next 6 to 12 months.
Where is the special counsel against Hunter Biden? Why hasn't that happened?
Well, I think we all know why that hasn't
Hunter
happened.
Biden has a drug problem, sweetheart, and that's just mean. You're going after someone with a serious, you're an ableist. But a serious question we were talking about before, and one of the great things when we do these events is we get a great chance to talk to everybody here in the area. We're going to leave with an incredible impression of Mexico and the Mexican people and their hospitality. And look, they're not pining for communism down here, and they actually like Americans. So there's a lot we can do. But on this question of the special counsel, should this be something that your new majority looks at just defunding?
Oh, yeah.
Just as a line item, like,
absolutely.
You can't do this.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be an item for sure.
Well, I think we'll score that if you do it, okay?
That sounds great.
Just want to get one more question in. What do you think are going to be the priorities for this new House majority? What are you all going to be focused on?
Well, it's just like the commitment to America. We want to try to fix the issues with the economy, and that means stopping this crazy spending, which is fueling the inflation.
That's right.
We got to focus, too, on the supply side of inflation. A lot of people seem to forget that. But if you are energy independent, you address the supply side issues of inflation. Also, the border. The border is out of control, and Kevin has talked specifically to me about this. In fact, I'll be on the border with him next week. We must get that fixed. So lots of things I could go on. We want to hold hold the spending in Ukraine to an account.
Right.
You know, I mean, we want to support them, but we got to make sure that every dollar is accounted for.
We're going to be on the stage here in a little bit. Mercy and I are going to be up there talking about what's going on with the conservative movement in America and why it's important for us to hook arms with all these great conservatives around the globe. And you're going to be up there talking about this message of how we work with the Americas.
That's right, exactly.
And the theme of this CPAC is wonderful. Protecting freedom in the Americas. It's about time we just stomped out communism in all the Americas. We can do this.
We can do this. Cubazuela has metastasized throughout Latin America, and we got to stop it.
Amen. Well, Mark Green, Congressman Mark Green, thank you. We love having you here at CPAC Mexico, and we appreciate everything you do. You're definitely one of the leaders, one of the conservative leaders in our country. And thank you all for watching.